What if I told you that Mars wasn't just a dead, dusty rock, but a planet that might have once hosted life, maybe even an advanced civilization? And what if I also told you that Mars may hold the key to our future, our past, or maybe even our very own existence?
Fire takes the dirt and wires. Mystery fuels all our fires. Laugh till the night becomes dawn. Curious minds, let's move on. Nobody cares about the change.
Yep, all sounds like a sci-fi script ripped from the bargain bin, doesn't it? But like that weird dude at the pub who turns out to be surprisingly right about cryptocurrency, sometimes the strangest ideas deserve a second look.
Elevate your heart, your mind. In the chaos, peace we'll find.
I am your eternal host, Charlie, and today we're peeling back the rusty layers of the red planet to separate fact from fiction, science from speculation, and genuine mysteries from the conspiracy rabbit holes.
So when we're kicking, elevate the soul. Let it fly, find new ways till we die.
Our relationship with Mars is like that ex you can't stop stalking on social media. We're endlessly fascinated, slightly obsessed, and convinced there's more to the story than meets the eye. The obsession began back in 1877 when Italian astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli observed what he called canali on Mars. The Italian word simply meant channels, but got mistranslated to canals in English, and suddenly everyone was picturing Martian civil engineers in little space helmets digging waterways across the planet. Fast forward to today, and we've gone from peering through telescopes to literally driving remote-controlled cars across the Martian surface.
Aww, so cute.
The Curiosity rover has been joyriding around Mars since 2012, sending us holiday snaps and soil samples like an overenthusiastic tourist. Its cousin, Perseverance, joined the party in 2021, along with the first Martian helicopter, Ingenuity, because apparently even on other planets humans can't resist showing off. But here's where it gets properly interesting. Carl Sagan, who was to astronomy what David Attenborough is to wildlife, once said, "Mars has become a kind of mythic arena onto which we have projected our earthly hopes and fears." And boy, was he bang on. The mind-melting reality is that about 3.5 billion years ago, Mars wasn't the barren wasteland we see today. It was Earth's wetter, possibly livelier twin. NASA's rovers have found conclusive evidence that Mars once had lakes, rivers, and possibly even an ocean covering its northern hemisphere. Now, we're talking about a planet with a water cycle, rain, and potentially all the conditions necessary for life as we know it. The European Space Agency actually calculated that this ancient Martian ocean held more water than the Arctic Ocean does on Earth. As physicist Michio Kaku rather poetically put it, the dinosaurs became extinct because they didn't have a space program. And if we become extinct because we don't have a space program, it will serve us right. Looking at Mars, we might be seeing not just our potential future home, but a mirror reflecting our own planet's possible fate.
Basically, I'm just gonna walk the earth. What you mean, walk the earth? You know, like Kane in Kung Fu. Walk from place to place, meet people, get in adventures.
What's particularly fascinating is how Mars transforms from science to speculation, from astronomy to archaeology. Because if there was water, lots of it, and the right conditions, the question becomes not just was there life, but how advanced did it get before something went catastrophically wrong? Now, let's wade into the murky waters where science meets speculation, the controversial theory that Mars once hosted an advanced civilization. And before you roll your eyes, let me remind you that people once thought the idea of washing your hands before surgery was absurd. Sometimes the ridiculous becomes the revolutionary.
Don't give me attitude, sir.
So it all kicked off in 1976 when NASA's Viking 1 orbiter captured images of what appeared to be a massive humanoid face staring up from the Martian surface in the Cydonia region. About 2 kilometers long and looking like someone had commissioned a giant sphinx in the Martian desert, the face on Mars became the extraterrestrial Rorschach test of our time. Nearby, curious pyramid-like structures and what some researchers called a city layout added fuel to the conspirational fire. Suddenly, everyone from suburban dads to respected scientists was asking the same question. Are we looking at the ruins of lost Martian civilization? NASA's official stance has always been that these are natural formations, tricks of light, shadow, and our very human tendency to see faces in everything from clouds to toasts. When better images came in 1998 and 2001, that face looked considerably less face-like. NASA probably thought, case closed, let's move on. But as British philosopher Alan Watts once noted, the menu is not the meal, meaning that scientific explanations don't always satisfy our deeper hunger for meaning. Richard Hoagland, a former NASA consultant turned controversial theorist, has spent decades arguing that the Cydonia formations are indeed artificial structures. He claims they're geometrically too precise to be natural and points to supposed mathematical relationships between the structure that echo those found in ancient Earth monuments. Now, I'm not saying Hoagland is right, but it's worth noting that throughout human history, we've consistently underestimated ancient civilizations. When European archaeologists first discovered Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, they refused to believe it was built 11,000 years ago, until carbon dating proved them wrong. When researchers found the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient Greek astronomical computer, they initially couldn't accept that such sophisticated technology existed in 100 BCE. So, now let's say, and just for laughs, that there was an advanced civilization on Mars. What happened to them? Did they go the way of our own lost civilizations, the mysterious collapse of the Maya, the vanishing act of the Indus Valley civilization, or the legendary sinking of the Atlantis? If an advanced civilization did rise and fall on Mars, it would fundamentally change our understanding of our place in the cosmos. As Carl Sagan wisely noted, the universe is not required to be in perfect harmony with human ambition. Perhaps Mars holds a warning for us, a cosmic memento mori written in the dust of a deed world. Now, let's crank the speculation dial up to 11 and explore one of the most controversial theories about Mars, that its current desolate state was caused by massive nuclear explosions. Yes, people, this is the theory of Mars that we have been somehow hearing about. This isn't just some random internet conspiracy. It comes from plasma physicist Dr. John Brandenburg, who has a PhD from the University of California and has worked on space plasma technologies, nuclear fusion, and advanced space propulsion. Not exactly your average tinfoil hat wearer dude. Brandenburg's theory goes like this. Mars shows abnormally high concentration of certain isotopes that on Earth are associated with nuclear explosions. Specifically, he points to elevated levels of xenon-129 and uranium-235, along with an unusual distribution of thorium and radioactive potassium across the planet's surface. So why am I nerding it out? Well, I've got to give you these details to get to that point. Now, hang on a second. In his 2014 paper published in the Journal of Cosmology, Brandenburg wrote, the high concentration of xenon-129 in the Martian atmosphere and the evidence for uranium and thorium on the Martian surface means that Mars was apparently the site of massive radiological events which created large amounts of signature isotopes and covered the surface with a thin layer of radioactive debris. So what's even more bizarre, Brandenburg claims these nuclear explosions were centered on 2 specific regions of Mars. Cydonia, yes, our face on Mars dude, and Utopia, another region with strange formations. Now, there are natural explanations for these isotopic anomalies. They could be the result of meteor impacts, solar radiation, or natural nuclear reactions. On Earth, we've discovered natural nuclear reactors that operated billions of years ago in Gabon, Africa. Nature is often more bizarre than we give it credit for. But Brandenburg isn't convinced by these explanations. He suggests that the pattern of isotopic distribution points to artificial nuclear detonations, perhaps even a devastating war that turned Mars from a habitable world into the dead planet we see today. So as outlandish as this sounds, it's worth remembering what physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer said after witnessing the first atomic bomb test. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. The capacity for self-destruction seems to be a natural byproduct of advanced technology.
Years later, a doctor will tell me that I have an IQ of 48 and am what some people call mentally retarded.
Some researchers have even suggested that Mars might have been victim to what they call the Death Star theory, that an advanced civilization elsewhere in the galaxy might have deliberately targeted Mars as a demonstration of power or in some ancient interstellar conflict. Japanese physicist Michio Kaku offers a sobering perspective on this kind of speculation. The danger is not that machines will begin to think like men, but that men will begin to think like machines. And I have used that same proverb on AI. So let's think about this a little bit deeper. Whether on Earth or Mars, perhaps the real threat isn't technology itself, but how we choose to use it. If, and this is a massive if, there's any truth to these theories, it raises questions about the cyclical nature of history. Are technological civilizations doomed to destroy themselves? Is there a point in development where the capacity of destruction outspaces wisdom? In India, there's the concept of Kali Yuga, a dark age of destruction that eventually gives way to renewal. The ancient Greeks had their theory of ages from golden to iron, and modern historians like Arnold Toynbee have documented the rise and fall of civilizations throughout human history. Perhaps Mars represents the end stage of a cycle that Earth is still working through. As philosopher George Chantanaya famously warned, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Maybe the most important reason to study Mars isn't to find out future home, but to avoid sharing its fate. But let's not get too gloomy. After all, we're still here having this conversation, which means we haven't nuked ourselves into oblivion yet. As the great British comedian Stephen Fry once said, there is no reason why good cannot triumph as often as evil. The triumph of anything is a matter of organization.
In fields of green without a sound, feathers fall, they hit the ground.
Now, let's really mess with your head a little bit. Have you heard of panspermia? Well, it suggests that life on Earth might have originally come from Mars. Panspermia is the idea that life can spread through space, hitching rides on asteroids and meteorites. And it's not just some fringe theory. It's taken seriously by heavyweight scientists like the late Stephen Hawking, who once said, "I think life on Earth must have started from cells that arrived here from space." The evidence suggests that Mars became habitable before Earth did. While our planet was still a violent molten mess around 4 billion years ago, Mars had already cooled down, developed an atmosphere, and had liquid water on its surface. Dr. Joseph Kirschvenick of Caltech, someone who spent his career studying the origin of life, put it this way. If you look at the timing of when Mars was cool enough to have liquid water on its surface, and when Earth finally cooled down after the moon-forming impact, you will find that Mars had the conditions for life to emerge almost 400 million years before Earth did. Now, during this time, the solar system was essentially a cosmic pinball machine. Due to the late heavy bombardment, a period of intense meteor activity, rocks were constantly being blasted off Mars and eventually landing on Earth. We know this happens because we found over 200 Martian meteorites on Earth. One of these meteorites, ALH 84001, discovered in Antarctica in 1984, caused a global sensation when NASA scientists announced in 1996 that it contained structures that would be fossilized Martian microbes. While that specific claim remains controversial, the principle that life could survive the journey from Mars to Earth has been proven possible, and that is only what we have access to. Remember, Antarctica? We don't really know much about it now, do we?
In cosmic book.
Laboratory experiments have shown that microbes can survive the extreme conditions of space when protected inside rocks. Tardigrades, those microscopic water bears that look like six-legged vacuum cleaners, can survive in the vacuum of space for up to 10 days. Life is remarkably resilient. There are even weirder coincidences that make you wonder. Life on Earth seems to have emerged relatively quickly after the planet cooled, suggesting that maybe it had a head start. Some basic cellular mechanisms like DNA appear to have emerged fully formed, other than evolving gradually. Nobel Prize winning biochemist Francis Crick, who co-discovered the structure of DNA, was so puzzled by this that he proposed the directed panspermia theory suggesting that life might have been deliberately seeded on Earth by intelligent beings. Although most scientists prefer the natural version of panspermia, it shows how puzzling our origins are even to those who understand our biology best. Swedish chemist Svante Arrhenius, who first proposed panspermia in 1903, believed that life is constantly traveling between worlds, a kind of cosmic pollination. So does this mean we're technically the aliens? In a way, yes. And why the heck not? Philosopher Slavoj Žižek has an interesting take on this. Sometimes the most alien thing we can encounter is our own origin. Perhaps our fascination with finding life on Mars is really about understanding our own beginnings. And if we are Martians who colonized Earth billions of years ago, there's a beautiful symmetry to our current ambitions to send humans back to Mars. It would be the ultimate homecoming, though I imagine the welcome party might be a bit underwhelming after a 4 billion year absence.
You are now tuned in to your number one radio station.
Let's take a journey to the center of Mars, or at least beneath its surface, where some of the most intriguing theories about the planet lurk. The idea that Mars might host underground structures or even alien bases might sound like something from a late-night radio show, but recent scientific discoveries have given some credence to the notion that Mars might be more than meets the eye. In 2018, the European Space Agency made a remarkable announcement. Their Mars Express orbiter had detected a 20-kilometer wide underground lake of liquid water beneath Mars' south pole. Now, not just moisture or ice, actual liquid water, potentially habitable by Earth-like life. This discovery was followed by a 2021 study suggesting not just one, but several subsurface lakes in the same region. As an Italian planetary scientist put it, we are not closer to actually detecting life, but what we have found is an environment where life could potentially exist. Then there's the curious case of Mars's methane. Methane doesn't last long in the Martian atmosphere. It breaks down within about 300 years. Yet, we keep detecting it. Something is actively producing methane on Mars and on Earth. Methane is primarily produced by living organisms.
Oh shit!
NASA's Perseverance rover has also found that the Martian subsurface is surprisingly porous, with complex networks of caverns and lava tubes that could potentially house microbial life, or maybe something more advanced. This has led to some rather colorful speculation. Richard Hoagland, yes, our Cydonia enthusiast, has claimed that NASA images show glass tubes and other artificial structures on Mars that could be entrances to underground bases. He suggests these might be the remnants of an ancient civilization or even active alien outposts. While mainstream science dismisses these specific claims, the concept of underground habitats on Mars isn't far-fetched. In fact, when humans eventually colonize Mars, we'll likely build our first settlements underground to shield ourselves from solar radiation and extreme temperature swings. The wildest theories suggest that an advanced civilization might still exist on Mars, living in underground cities built to escape whatever catastrophe transformed the planet's surface. Some conspiracy theorists even claim that Earth governments are aware of these Martians and are keeping their existence secret. As German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said, and if you gaze into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. Perhaps the same is true for Mars. We've been staring at it for so long, looking for signs of life, that we've started to imagine it staring back. The possibility of subsurface life on Mars, even if it's just microbial, is one of the most exciting frontiers in space exploration. Life finds a way, as they say, and if there's one thing we've learned from studying Earth's extremophiles, it's that life can adapt to incredibly harsh conditions. Now, let's fast forward from ancient Martian civilizations to the potential future ones, specifically ours. The dream of turning Mars into humanity's second home is no longer just science fiction. It's the ambitious goal of some of the world's wealthiest and most powerful individuals. Elon Musk, the man who can't decide if he wants to be Tony Stark or a living X-meme, has made colonizing Mars his life's mission. His vision is nothing if not ambitious. Transport 1 million people to Mars and terraform the planet to make it Earth-like. I want to die on Mars, Musk has said. Just not on impact. Well, fair enough, Elon. We all have our bucket lists. But what would it actually take to transform Mars into a livable world? Well, firstly, we'd need to drastically change its atmosphere. Mars currently has an atmosphere about 100 times thinner than Earth's and comprised mostly of carbon dioxide. Not exactly what you call breathable unless you're a particularly hardy houseplant. And to create an Earth-like atmosphere, we'd need to trigger a massive greenhouse effect. One proposal is to manufacture and release super greenhouse gases like chlorofluorocarbons, the same ones we've been trying to get rid of on Earth. Woo! Ironic, isn't it? We'd be intentionally causing climate change on Mars while fighting it on Earth. It's like breaking up with someone because they smoke, then immediately starting a 40-day habit yourself. Another approach would be to redirect comets or asteroids to crash into Mars, releasing water and other volatile compounds. Essentially, you would be doing to Mars what killed the dinosaurs on Earth. As French novelist Victor Hugo said, there is nothing like a dream to create the future, though I'm not so sure he meant creating that future by hurling space rocks at planets. Then there's the challenge of melting Mars's polar ice caps to release water and CO2. NASA scientists have estimated that Mars has enough polar ice that, if melted, could cover the entire planet in an ocean about 30 feet deep. Robert Zubrin, aerospace engineer and founder of the Mars Society, suggested we could use giant orbital mirrors to focus sunlight onto the poles and trigger this melting. But even if we succeeded in thickening the atmosphere and releasing water, we'd still need to deal with the intense cold and radiation on Mars. The average temperature on Mars is about minus 63 degrees Celsius, and it lacks Earth's protective magnetic field to shield against cosmic radiation. Now, perhaps the biggest challenge would be in establishing a sustainable ecosystem. We'd need to introduce microorganisms, plants, and eventually animals to create a functioning biosphere. The first Martian forests would likely be genetically engineered to withstand the harsh conditions, lower gravity, higher radiation, and extreme temperature swings. Japanese botanist Miyawaki, known for his work on forest regeneration, suggests that creating multi-layered, diverse forests might be the most efficient way to establish sustainable ecosystems on Mars. Now, all of this leads to an ethical question. Should we even do this? Does humanity have the right to fundamentally alter another planet? The indigenous people of Australia, with their concept of country, the idea that land has its own spirit and should be respected rather than dominated, might view terraforming as a form of cosmic colonialism. As Aboriginal elder Bob Randall said, "We don't own the land owns us." Then there's the scientific concern. What if Mars currently hosts microbial life hidden beneath the surface? By transforming, we might inadvertently commit the first interplanetary genocide. NASA scientist Christopher McKay argues that if there is indigenous life on Mars, then Mars belongs to the Martians, even if they are only micro. On the other hand, philosopher Martin Rothblatt argues that expanding the reach of consciousness into the cosmos is our cosmic duty. If Earth is the only planet with complex life, perhaps we have a responsibility to spread that life to other worlds. The tension between these perspectives raises questions about our role in the cosmos. As Carl Sagan wrote, "We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." Perhaps terraforming Mars is simply the next step in the universe's self-exploration. Perhaps the greatest irony would be what environmental scientist James Lovelock warned. We may find ourselves trying to survive on a planet that's becoming more like Mars while simultaneously trying to make Mars more like Earth. And the golden nugget for today, as we wrap up our journey through the mysteries of the red planet, I'm struck by how Mars serves as a mirror, reflecting our past, our future, and even our deepest existential questions. Whether Mars is our past, our future, or just a cosmic mystery, we'll never fully solve it. It reminds us of one thing, though. Humans have always looked up at the stars and wondered, what if? Ancient Egyptian astronomers tracked Mars and named it the Red One. The Babylonians associated it with Nergal, their god of war. The Greeks and Romans saw it as the embodiment of their war gods, Eris and Mars. Throughout history, across cultures, this red dot in the sky has captivated our imagination. Physicist Werner Heisenberg once said, "What we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning." Maybe that's why Mars has played so many roles in our collective imagination. Dead planet, ancient civilization, future home. We see in Mars what we need to see, what we fear, or even what we hope. If Mars was once like Earth and is now a frozen desert, what does that tell us about our own planet's future? As Neil deGrasse Tyson puts it, the universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. Yet we continue to search for meaning, for patterns, for connection. If we ever do transform Mars, our descendants might look back on us as mythical figures who performed the ultimate act of creation, building a new world from the dust of an old one. What's certain is that Mars will continue to fascinate us, challenge us, and inspire us to ask bigger questions about our place in the cosmos. The story of Mars and Earth is still being written, and we're all co-authors in this narrative. Whether we're solving the mysteries of Mars's past or shaping its future, we're participating in one of humanity's greatest adventures. And until next time, keep looking up. The universe is full of stories waiting to be told. That's all for today's Nobody Cares About the Chickens. If you like this episode, hit that follow button, and don't forget, no theory is ever too wild.
Thank you so much.
This show is sponsored by LookChaos.co, www.lechaos.co. Genderless, sustainable, trendy lifestyle.
Mom, somebody just followed me.